Hello everyone, this is Darcinovia here. Since I like to finish when I start, and I don't want to wait until after my hiatus is over to review this, and considering I was on the final novel anyway, why not review it and honor Amongst Thieves before I go on my break? This is Invincible, which is the final novel of Legacy of the Force. This takes place shortly after Revelation, and this is the novel where everything, ends. All the buildup, from various novels in here. Now, what do I think of this book? Well, I will mention some things I liked. I like the fact that Troy Denning didn't waste any time in this book like Karen Travis did, and he focused on what's important. Thank God he was the one that finished this series and not her. Oh, God. I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about Revelation here. Anyway, Legacy of the Force. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it, especially the ending. Some people weren't satisfied with the ending. There's some that thought it was anticlimactic. Some didn't like the fact that, Troy Denning killed another one of the Solo kids. And, well, I'll get to that, what I think of the ending. But I'd like to talk about what this book did right. This book, the pacing is excellent. Despite being shorter than most of the books in the series, with the exception of Inferno, this book does a great job grabbing the reader, and this one's probably it's a page turner, unlike the rest of them in the series. Not that they're bad, it's just considering the fact that it's the final book, and you just want to know how it's going to end. And each chapter, when I was reading it, I didn't pay attention at a time, and by the time I was done with the book, it was 2 in the morning. Yes, I read this entire book in one setting. That's part of the reason why it took me so long to read it, because I made a vow if I was going to read this book, I was going to finish it in one setting. Now, as far as final books in the series goes, it's really good. It could have been like a rushed ending, but it wasn't rushed. It focused on the central conflict between Jaina Solo and her brother, Darth Hiatus. And one thing I do really like about this book is, even if you hate Jason Solo, if you read those stories, and then you read this, it's just heart-wrenching reading some of those, quotes, some of those jokes that he used to make, and to read about the monster that he has become. It's hard. It was hard to read this, considering that Jason was one of my favorite characters, and he's dead. He didn't get redeemed like Anakin. His death was pretty tragic, and in a way, one thing I really liked about the ending for Invincible, I might get more in depth when I talk about Legacy of the Force, the series as a whole, is Jason, in a way, he succeeded in his goals. He united the galaxy. He brought peace and stability to the galaxy, as far as the ending of this is concerned. And I felt like this book, some people, I don't know if people would agree with me on this, this wouldn't be a bad way to end the expanded universe. Invincible. I don't feel like any loose ends would have existed if this was the end of it. Even though there's Tahiri, her leaving because Ben lets her go. So yeah, I guess if you care about what happens with her, but for the most part, I don't think that the expanded universe would have really suffered much if this was the end. But I'm not going to talk about ifs or buts. There's other things I really like about this novel. I thought it had probably the most intense lightsaber duel that I've read. And It gave me a vibe of the lightsaber duels in the original trilogy with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And that fan film, 3 years ago, I think did a beautiful job of adapting, that final duel between Jaina and Jacen. And one thing I really liked about this also is Jacen's death, even though it was heart-wrenching for me, I felt it was fitting for his character, for him to go out in that way. Jacen could have gone out in many different ways. He could have gone out, trying to kill his sister, or he could have killed his sister, but instead he left himself open to warn, spoiler alert, Tenille Ka to save her life along with his daughter. Now, as far as Sith Lords goes, I think Jacen Solo is not as evil as most of the other Sith. And honestly, I will admit, most of the series, I was torn who I should root for. Of course, towards the second to last book, I couldn't root for Jacen anymore, considering I just couldn't get behind his views. And yeah, I felt like this tied everything up really well. And in the future, when I resume reading the post-Return of the Jedi part of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, I'm actually looking forward to reading Fate of the Jedi in the future. But when I do read Star Wars novels again, it won't be in the post-Return of the Jedi era, and it won't be in the OT era. It's going to be in the prequels. So this is one of the last reviews you're going to see, other than my hiatus, me talking about the post-Return of the Jedi EU. This is the last one for a while, until I decide to review some of the other post-Return of the Jedi novels that I have yet to read, such as the Kalissa trilogy, the X-Wing series, etc. Anyway, this book I think is really good, just like the rest of the series, excluding Revelation. I felt like it tied things up rather well, and I'm looking forward in the future to read the stuff that takes place after it. It's sad to think that I don't really have much material left. After that, I'll have nothing. I will not know what happens to these characters, but I'll talk about that when I get to those books. Anyway, I give this book a good rating. I think it's a good book, just like the rest of the series. And even though this is a little short compared to my other review when I talked about the final book of the New Jedi Order, but I want to do a more in-depth review of Legacy of the Force. So look forward to that. This is Darcinovia. May the Force be with you. And see you guys next time with my review on Legacy of the Force. Thank you.